Okay, looks like I have a microphone now that I didn't have before. All right, well, since that's the case, those of you who started in or watching me on demand, be aware that I'm going to go back through and do an introduction since you only saw my lips moving before. So welcome to Tales from SYL Ranch, where everyone is entitled to my opinion, and I'm Bill Stone. And tonight we have our very first Star Stream watch party and reaction for the Stargirl, a brand new superhero TV show from our good little SJWs at the CW and Warner Brothers. So to explain my show for the benefit of you viewers, which statistically hopefully you are, Tales from SYL Ranch is a science fiction, fantasy, superhero, horror, comic book, and other genre-related review and commentary show. Sometimes I talk about serious films and TV. Sometimes I talk about schlock. Sometimes I talk about classic films, whether they're any good or not. And sometimes I talk about modern films and TV shows with broad appeal, such as Star Wars movies, Marvel movies, The Orville, Doctor Who, Batwoman, which is the modern-day Plan 9 from outer space, and I have some news about that in a little bit. And now, Stargirl. Most of my reviews are pre-recorded, but for special occasions such as this, I will do a live stream. During live streams, I will take any and all questions, comments, and nasty remarks. I'll respond to as many of my viewers as possible, and you can tell me if I missed something, if I'm full of crap, or if I just happen to be an amazingly hoopy food, which is more likely. In my reviews, I go into a lot more depth than any other reviewer on YouTube. I don't just say if I liked a film or not, I go into the acting, the direction, the cinematography, and the mechanics of making a film. And I can do this because a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I was once an actor, so I speak with a modicum of authority. Not as much as a modern working actor, I never want to give that impression, but with some authority. There is an old saying, those who can do, and those who can't teach. I suppose that the way I structure things and the fact that I did teach for about 3 years makes my reviews a lot like teaching. One thing I don't do is outrage reviews. There are a lot of reviewers on YouTube who are simply actors portraying outrage because they found out after The Last Jedi that outrage tends to sell. They hate everything with a knee-jerk reflex because, well, the viewers, they want to come to them and hate things and see them hating things. But it causes a weird feedback loop between fans and popular reviewers where ultimately nobody can like anything, even if it's any good. But I don't do that. If I like something, I'll say why, in detail. If I dislike it, I'll say why, in detail. But I don't do outrage. Unlike other reviewers in this space, I am the adult in the room. And on a live stream like this, after the show that we're watching is over, I'll take a general Q&A. You can ask me anything about any subject, genre-related or not. And Larry, yes, that is exactly the news I have. Ruby Rose quit Batwoman effectively today. Wow. Yeah, she quit Batwoman effective today. Now, I mean, this is something that they had to have in the works for a long, long time. You know, this doesn't just happen like that. They knew for weeks, maybe, that she was going to leave because they don't just announce this 2 days after the season finale and like that. That'll be very, very interesting. I don't know how the hell you handle that. Could you kill off Kate Kane off screen and then come back with somebody putting on the suit? Maybe the British girl puts on the suit? How do you handle that problem? You know, or do you just recast the role and say, screw it, you know, it was only this actress for 1 year, so we'll just put somebody else in there, and after they've been there for 3 years, if that stupid show makes it that long, then everybody will just think of them as Batwoman. The other thing they could do is just cancel the damn thing. I don't know why they don't just do that. Oh, let me get a couple of windows open here so that I can... Oh, and I have to kick my volume way the hell... Oh, wait, I don't know if I have to kick my volume... Yeah, I do have to kick my volume way the hell up. All right, we'll mute you, take you out so I can look at you later over here. Yeah, the whole show should quit, Larry, absolutely. This, I mean, I tend to think the only people watching this thing are reviewers. You know, I mean, are we the ones that are keeping the ratings up by watching this crap? I don't know. Let me kill out some of my more useless windows here that I don't need. Oh, and I maybe don't need to use the subtitles today. You have to do that with Batwoman because you can't see all of the stunts. But it may be that this character, we hope so, spends enough time in the daylight. Oh, one thing I want to do, obviously, if we're going to do this and people are watching me on demand, then I want you to know that we could really spoil something for you. So in that case, we're going to issue a...
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. All hands, prepare for incoming spoilers.
Yes, it is a spoiler alert, and that is because I am a Fandi master, and that means that the fandom is strong with me. And this is not a boast nor a brag. This is just where you find yourself after having watched, read, and listened to over 100 years worth of science fiction. The problem is that Fandi masters are cursed. You just can't see all of this new stuff without seeing the century that came before. You discover there's not that much that's original, and it starts to interfere with your ability to enjoy things. And we'll see how that goes here. The Star-Spangled Kid, later Starman, later eventually Stargirl in the comics, has a very lengthy history. It goes back all the way to the Golden Age. Obviously, they can't do that here. They can't, I don't think anyway. I don't think you could come up with a Golden Age backstory for this, maybe. But I assume it's going to be somewhat different. But we'll see. I was going to talk about the history of this character in the comics before the show, but I've only got 6 minutes left, and that's not enough time. So I'll tack that on at the end of the show. But, yeah, here's just because I made it. Here's my Ruby Rose card. This is Ruby Rose, by the way. This was what I was going to put on when I was talking about how she's squid. This is Ruby Rose pre-self-harm. Everybody wants to look it over and go, isn't she cool and open and stuff like that? That's what people always want to do. But when you go and you get 5,000 tattoos, you kind of messed up. Sorry, guys, it's just true. I've never met anybody with tattoos over 90% of their body that didn't have issues. And so I consider that self-harm when you're doing that much of it. I have a tattoo on my right shoulder blade. It's the engineering curly Q. Let me see your direction. It would be like, that curly Q that's inside the insignia on Scotty and other people's chest in Star Trek, the original series. So I have one. I got that on the occasion of my divorce being final, and it's sort of a personal thing. But I got one, left shoulder blade. I put it there specifically because it gets completely covered over by my clothes. Anytime I'm wearing anything, and if I have it out there, people look at that engineering curlicue thing and they go, "Oh, it's some kind of tribal thing," and they don't know. But I've only got the one, but the thing is, I know this because you get to be my age and you discover that a number of things have happened to the potential field of people to be watching you or to be having a relationship with, because most women, a huge percentage of women, are married. Okay, no touch. So then you're left with basically 2 or 3 types of women. Women who are severely damaged from a relationship from a relationship went really south on them, or they've never been married in the first place, and there's 2 reasons for that. They're too crazy, and they're too crazy. Generally speaking, if you can find a woman my age, 55 or so, that's in reasonably good physical condition, has 10,000 tattoos on her, okay, she's weird, kind of messed up, probably crazy in bed. Leave it at that. Don't get involved, because they're too messed up, they're weird, and they will show up in weird ways. Okay, looks like the show is coming on. I hope. This is not going to be another SJW show, but you just can't ever trust these people. Okay. Why is my audio not going? Okay. Well, it looks like I'm going to have another... I have no...
This kind of
there it
insurance,
is.
called Medicare Part C, may also cover dental care, eyeglasses, hearing aids, fitness...
See if I can mute it.
Even
Bring it back.
healthy
Okay,
meals and
we're good.
rides to the doctor.
Okay. Sorry, this is what happens when you do it live.
You will access your...
All right, so it looks like we got about 1 minute, almost exactly, until the show starts. Was saying, mentioned that the show has a... Oops, I can't see my... Move you, and you, and you, and you, and you, all of you windows, so that I can put my CW screen up in a browser window and be able to see that, and be able to simultaneously see my comments and stuff, so that I can respond. Okay, looks like 20 seconds-ish. Now I'm going to count this off because they always do these in the same way. They'll have a local station ID, national network ID, and then they start the episode. That's the way they always work. So for the benefit of people watching me on demand, I'm going to say those things, call them out when they happen, and say when the show starts, because that'll give you a chance to sync up if you're so inclined. As you are now, I may be a little bit behind you. I'm watching this on Spectrum's on-demand live streaming, so I'm just watching CW there. Consequently, because I have to deal a little bit with network lag, it could be a little bit behind. For any of you watching that haven't seen me do this before, hang on, I think we're getting close. Okay, local station ID. Network ID, DC ID, and now. Oh. 10 years ago, the Golden Age ended? This actually could be interesting. This could be interesting if they're going to go back and put Golden Age stuff in there as a backstory. That could be pretty cool. Is this a period piece?
Starman, are you there? Over. Tracy? Copy that. I'm on my way. Over. You're over. You don't follow my orders and stay away. You're not in the JSA, Pat. You're my sidekick. Starman!
They've actually got something of the Golden Age built into the show. That's kind of cool. Oh, please don't get SJWE. I'd be much prefer to review these things. Huh. I am going to have to kick my... Did have to turn my brightness up. I've got it up by about 25%. Oh, there's Hourman there? Cool. The Wizard. Wow, they really did some Earth to Golden Age stuff here. That's cool. Dr. Midnight. Cool. I have a big affinity for the Justice Society of America, so seeing this is kind of cool. Yeah, it's Hourman. I knew it was Hourman.
Welcome to the show.
Huh.
I told you to leave the car!
Oh, it's Brainwave. Well, that's kind of cool. Huh, that's interesting. They did do a whole bunch of Golden Age stuff there. That was really rather cool for me. I like that. I like that very much. They got the hat for the Flash, which if anybody's watching CW knows what that means. Icicle. Are these DC? Did they absorb them from another company? No. They're using characters that actually appeared in the Golden Age. I'm rather stunned by this. But they have a lot of Golden Age characters in here. It's one of the reasons I'm liking this. We'll see. We'll see if they go SJW, but yeah, see, and this is what Star Spangled Kid, who was the predecessor to Starman, Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy, they did that. They had a car like that actually in the Golden Age, a flying car. Well, rocket car, really. So they must have de-aged the actor playing Stripesy. Because they're saying this was the end of the Golden Age. It was 10 years ago. The car they were showing was in the 50s. It looked like a 50s era car. That car.
The Justice Society. Its legacy must survive. Someone with honor, strength, must carry the torch. I'll try. Not you.
Saw this in the trailer.
Grace.
Not you. Not you. In the comics,
Can't do it.
Star Spangled Kid, later Starman, and Stripesy. Not surprisingly, if you look at Star Spangled or Starman's outfit here, they were a very much World War II pair of people. Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy. And Stripesy was just kind of a big. And Star Spangled Kid did not have the cosmic rod back then. That came much later. I'll talk about that after the show. In the comics, I mean. But Stripesy was a guy who was really good with certain types of engineering. He made the flying car in the comics. But I like that. I like that opening. Huh. Okay, I'm going to have to... I have a font for that. Yay. I always like to try to find the same font as they're using for the show itself to use for my thumbnails and stuff, so we've got that.
He was supposed to be here 2 hours ago. I hate to ask so late, but it's time and a half.
It's no trouble at all, Barbara. You watched the girls last weekend. Mary could not be more excited.
We're gonna make Christmas cookies. Courtney.
Okay.
Miss Kramer and Mary are gonna stay here with you, okay? You girls are gonna have so much fun tonight. Baby.
I just want to see Daddy.
I knew this would be late. Okay, well, Mommy has to go. Love you. Yeah.
I'm confused a little bit about the time period in which this takes place. One assumes it's modern day. Yeah, they've got cars like modern day. Okay. Okay, well that was modern day action movers. Look at the action in Action Movers is just like the title in the Action Comics #1. It's used the same logo ever since. Action Comics #1 was the first appearance of Superman. Now, I'll tell you something. I know what she's doing here. She's getting ready to move. And she's going to move to a fictional small town called Blue Valley, Nebraska. Okay, I live in Nebraska. We've kind of been the butt of jokes for over 50 years, over 55 years. And I'm really hoping that they will be nice to us and not portray us as complete hicks and idiots who vote for Trump. I hope that's not how they do it.
Do they have a pier?
No, Mike, there's no ocean.
What about In-N-Out?
Thanks. No.
Please tell me they have a fat burger.
No, Mike, that's why we got this. Call it your goodbye burger.
Goodbye In-N-Out, goodbye friends, goodbye indoor plumbing.
It's Nebraska. It's not Siberia, Mike.
I looked this place up on Google Earth. Blue Valley doesn't have jack.
It's got fresh air. It's got friendly people. It's got schools without metal detectors. The thing is, I need your help with this move, okay? I need you to be positive.
Positive, I am positive.
Great.
I'm positive this place will blow ass. I thought we were gonna stop moving around once you hooked up with Barbara.
Well, we're not
Blow
hooked
ass?
up, Mike.
Fine, what do you want me to say? Shacked up?
We're married, Mike. Can I give you a hand with that? You got it? Okay. I'm gonna go grab the rest of that stuff. You're doing a great job, Courtney. Thanks.
Hey, is that it?
Couple more boxes.
Okay, have Pat help you with those.
I don't need Pat's help. Courtney,
What?
If you're gonna be mad at me.
the move was Pat's idea.
I grew up in Blue Valley.
I took this new job.
We made the choice together.
It's fine. Whatever.
Looking up Breck Bassinger. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name because, as I say, I have a good feeling in my pit of my stomach on this one. So far, it hasn't happened a lot with the CW shows, not lately anyway. Now, as I say, I'm hoping they're kind to us here, because that's where the next scene is going to take place. They're going to get to Blue Valley. Please, producers who have never come to Nebraska and don't know what it looks like here, please be kind.
Nebraska, folks. Elevation 2,200 feet above sea level. Birthplace of Nick Nolte, Fred Astaire, the Great Warrior Crazy Horse, Wade Boggs. Yeah, who's that?
Well, also,
Player. Also the birthplace of Gerald Ford.
Who do you play for?
The United States of America, Mike.
yeah. Also, Marlon Brando and I'm forgetting his name. Big actor in the through the 1980s. God, don't remember.
Submission.
What do you think?
By the way, you can get a mansion here for about $250K to $500,000.
Sorry, that's
A real mansion.
Yeah, thank you. You know what?
Well, they're being nice so far. They're being nice so far. What they're showing in the background is not off from what it looks like in a smallish town.
Hey, how about we get something to eat?
It's different in Lincoln and Omaha because they're actual cities that have infrastructures and stuff, so it looks a little different there. But you get into the suburbs, it looks kind of like this. Okay, they've got a downtown street that, okay, they're being kind to us. This downtown street is exactly like when I used to live in, what am I trying to say? When I used to live in Winterset, Iowa. This downtown looks exactly like it. It looks like it's half constructed to look like an older downtown. Everything about it screams to me that this is, something that's a sort of a made-up tourist trap. And that's okay. Some of our towns do look like that. It's Stargirl, another CW show. Yes, amazingly it is. It is...
2 years ago, when I came back to sell my mom's house.
Yeah, Dad told me like 100 times. Well, go to the corn though, right?
Why were you in Nebraska anyway?
I was looking for something. Should we check it out? Come on.
Yep, you can get this house for under 250K. Around here, you can get this house for under 250K. It's older. In fact, it could be as little as 60K for like a 3 or 4 bedroom house, easily. But certainly this one, if you're going to buy it because it's older, under 100K. Don't worry, Courtney. It's better. It's pretty good here. Don't worry. Aside from, the 6 feet of snow in the winter. And, of course, Blue Valley is a fictional place. My God, is this the first commercial break at 17 minutes? At 14 minutes after the hour? Wow, that's way better than Batwoman. They do commercials every 10 minutes on just like friggin' clockwork. Okay, had to reload the windows so that the audio is coming through. But in any case, I still have my subtitles up, so I can still read what they're saying. Okay, all right, Warner Brothers, CW, you're being nice so far. I mean, the town that they went to was not off from what you see behind me, and this is in fact a small Nebraska town. My guess is that the population of this town probably be no more than 3,000, maybe 4. I don't know. But again, it's not off. It's not off. You can see from what we were looking at there. Hey, Star Siege Blair, how you doing? Didn't catch that was you asking those questions. This will be on here in 45 minutes. Yeah, I can only choose the feed that I've got, and it's the East Coast feed. They have 2 different feeds, one for the East and one for the West. East Coast is basically Eastern time zone, Central time zone, and then the West Coast feed is Mountain and Pacific. So if you're somewhere west, an hour or 2 west of me, yes, this show is going to be on a couple of hours later so that it's on at the same physical time, but not the real exact same time. So this is the best what I can do. I always throw up, you may have missed it, it was towards the beginning, but I always throw up a spoiler alert, just so everybody knows. Hey, as long as I'm here, why not?
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. All hands, prepare for incoming spoilers.
Yep, spoiler alert. So you are, from here on out, it's anything that you get spoiled for is your own problem. Starseeds Blair, well, judgment so far, Fandi Master, sounds like it's not ridiculous. No. I have a big soft space in my heart for the Justice Society of America. I was, my father and uncles had collected a lot of Golden Age DC comics, and others, but mostly DC. And they had collected a whole bunch of those. And at the same time, I found comics sometime in the mid to 1970s, something like that. So I was coming in tail end of the Silver Age, but because I would spend time on my grandparents' ranch, and they held a whole freaking building literally filled with all kinds of stuff, but among them were this enormous amount of comics, I got to read all of these Golden Age comics. And so I'm seeing some of that right here, and the show episode is starting again. And it's remaining pretty truthful so far, pretty faithful to the source material. So.
But the academic and athletic programs have been recalibrated by the American Dream for optimal participation by the students and the faculty.
I have no idea what any of that means.
There are plenty of other after-school activities. How about cheerleading?
Okay, a town that size would have both a dance and gymnastics studio. If you went down one of these streets behind me, not necessarily on that one, but somebody will have both a gymnastics and anything, dance and gymnastics. Either as a single thing or double, but they'll have it. So, guys at CW, it's not quite like that. Not quite.
I am, yeah. Harry Crump. Pat Dugan. Friends call me Crush.
JSA Omnibus book worth 80.
Jim down the street's mine.
Probably, yes. Probably it is. However,
Got boot camp
I
classes.
have to tell you that
Yeah, I'm kind of focused on getting this
BitTorrent, excuse me, BitTorrent, excuse me. I'm able to occasionally find stuff like that. But if you're buying it, JSA was world's first super team. I'm trying to watch and talk at the same time. I'll be talking about this more in depth after the episode, but they were the world's first super team, and they started out in 1941, a month before Pearl Harbor, and they continued pretty much uninterrupted through the 1950s, and then the bottom just dropped up out of comics completely. See, right there, that's perfect. I should have had that. Looks exactly like the and they're being nice on the inside. Holy crap! The building looks exactly like the one in Winterset, Iowa did. It was the county seat. Had a big old thing like that. They just showed the interior of it being up to date and modern, which is exactly what happens in those buildings. They look real old from the outside, but they've been up to date in the inside. We're seeing an accurate depiction of a high school lunch here. It's not looking weird. Nobody's bringing anything strange. They are all dressed exactly the same that everybody else, everywhere else in the country is. Thank you, CW. Thank you so much for not fracking us over. After 55 years of that, of being the butt of jokes, this is great. This is really good because they're showing people wearing. You'd be amazed the number of people in large cities who think that we are actually hayseeds that wear like bib overalls. I mean, really. So when they're showing people just wearing the same clothes everybody else everywhere else does.
Not friends. This is the table for the singles.
The singles?
The losers.
Speak for yourself.
Okay.
Smell that?
There was kind of a table for people like that, but I was in it.
Smells like.
We didn't think of ourselves as losers or singles. We thought of ourselves as crap loads more intelligent than everyone else around us.
Oh, hey, new girl. She got an earphone.
Hey! Take that back!
Luke Wilson, is that who that is there?
Come with me.
It's my boyfriend, bitch.
Yeah. Cindy, language. Sorry, Principal Vaughn.
Yeah, okay. This is an accurate interpretation of high school life everywhere, I think.
When you team up and make your own video game.
That's great, Mike. Way to dive in. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and we started designing this shooter. It's called Blood Pizza Party.
Blood pizza party?
Blood Pizza Party, that's pretty good. I have to say I'm enjoying myself so far on this. It is night and day from Batwoman so far.
There's nothing to do here, so kids play way more video games.
Yeah, town that size, there's stuff to do there.
Did you join the
I
gymnastics?
mean, don't get crazy.
Oh, wait, Dad. Can I go over to Johnny's house? We're gonna play Fortnite for research.
Just be back by 9.
Gonna play Fortnite for research?
Okay, 9:01.
Why, Dad jokes always the opposite of funny?
Hey, finish your dinner.
I'm getting dessert.
Do you have any plans tonight?
Hey, you could hit the old drive-in.
Stop pretending you're my dad.
That we don't have. I think there may be a drive-in in Omaha, city of 1 million.
Sometimes I try.
I think there's one there, or it's in Council Bluffs, which is just the other side of Missouri River. I think it's in Council Bluffs. I'm not sure that there is a drive-in theater anywhere in Nebraska. Let me look. Got one way out in Alliance. Got one in Bellevue, Neely, and Valley. Oh, that's proposed. So we got 1, 2, 3 in the entire state, and all of those are very urban, rural areas. Okay, I'll give it to them. Well, okay. 4 of them, we just say, okay, fictional town, fictional outdoor movie theater. I'll give them that. All of these theaters are in very small towns. Oh man, that's the first issue of All Star Comics, which is where the JSA first appeared. had them in a big circular table like that. And sometimes it's portrayed with JSA on the side, in the center rather. And they're not quite all the same, but they're still sitting around the big round table that says JSA. Justice Society of America. As I say, I have a very soft spot in my heart in this. And the JSA, as I said, they published pretty much continuously until the bottom dropped out on comic books in the 50s. And then they started publishing again in the 1970s. They were a mainstay with the Justice League. They had a crossover with them. They were in another universe. So they were with them pretty much all the way, to modern day, of some kind or another. Omnibus book, I don't know for sure. I assume it will start with All-Star number 2, rather. All-Star number 2 is the first. Okay, one thing about this costume they've got for him, for Starman. He was originally a very much a superhero for. God, I wonder why the staff would go nuts from her touching the costume, but okay. Anyway, the costume, he was very much a Stars and Stripes patriotic hero from the 1940s. Never got to be the popularity of Captain America, of course, but he was still one. And his outfit didn't have this big white thing in there that I think looks like crap. He got that much later in the 80s, I think. I think it would have been better if he just gone with something else. But. I gotta say, I'm kind of liking the music here, too. God, I hope they don't get all SJW-y. The basement looks just like one I used to have until they finished it.
No way.
Like Clark finding the green crystal in the barn. Kind of, yeah. I mean, this is a little different because it was, something that was given to her dad some number of years ago. I mean, she's supposed to be in her teens. So when she was a little kid, if that thing happened with her father leaving, which is a backstory, by the way. And she's about 16. She's supposed to be about 16. Excuse me. Make her, make her about 16. It's been about 10 years. So it would have been at least 10 years since Pat was given the cosmic staff here. I don't know. Be interested to see what they do with the cosmic staff. Originally, it was a cosmic rod in the Golden Age. It was about this big. It was just a rod with a little thing at the top. But they called it the cosmic rod. It was just like that. It was basically something that used the power of the cosmos. They didn't get, this is the Golden Age, they didn't get too much into the scientific explanations of it. But the guy who came up with the idea was supposed to... The rod charges itself from starlight. That's what it is. Oh, I'm sorry. No, originally it was a gravity rod. It was a gravity rod for a number of years and then became the cosmic rod. But the gravity rod was just something he'd made that fiddled with gravity. Cosmic rod took its power source from the stars somehow, and that allowed him to use the thing with energy blasts and stuff like that, and obviously gravity and things like that. So. But in any case, actress is 20. Yeah, I know she's older. It's it's why it's very, very, very easy to find pictures like the one that I use on my thumbnail. Very, very easy to find pictures of her like that. Yeah, she's 20, but man, she's a child star. Seems to have been a child star. I've got. from about 2013. I don't know any of these shows aside from School of Rock. She was in School of Rock. But in any case, I think she's been a child actress. Because, let's see, 2014, and she's 20 now. So, what you see consistently, if you're around for very long, who is the actress that plays her? Breck Basinger, or Basinger, maybe Basinger. It's not related to Kim Basinger. But Breck, B-R-E-C, Basinger with two S's, B-A-S-S-I-N-G-E-R. What almost always happens, if you're around long enough, you find this out repeatedly. What almost always happens is when you get a child star, when they flip and become old enough that they have aged out, which happens to almost all of them, the girls immediately go for trying to look slutty. Don't know why. Maybe it's just that they've been, stuck playing children for so long that they get sick of it. And they want to be looked upon as an adult, so the women always do that. You saw it with Miley Cyrus, saw it with, I'm not remembering her name, but there's a couple of 3 female Disney child stars. Like Hannah Montana, yeah, exactly. There's 2 or 3 of those Disney child stars, females, that have all done exactly the same thing. And in fact, if you go back to the very first female Disney child star, Annette Funicello, what was the first thing that she did after she aged out of playing children? She did beach movies where you could see her bazoombas. That was the whole intent. Larry, her family is in rural Texas. Breck Basinger, okay. Resides with her mother. The rest of the family are in Texas. Used to play basketball, volleyball, and ran track and field. Used to be in beauty pageants and was on Our Little World Miss Winter. Looks like we're coming back. No, it's still a commercial. She has 2 older brothers named Barrick and Bryce. So it's Barrick, Bryce, and Breck. And she has type 1 diabetes. And she was a competitive cheerleader. So far, she's a pretty decent actress. As I say, I'm talking a lot, but I'm kind of enjoying myself. It looks like it came back here. Well, okay. I see. They set us up with gymnastic stuff. I didn't catch it, but good enough move in as much as it gives her a chance to jump around a lot on this stuff. I'm a little weird. The cosmic staff is a little bit weird in as much as in comics it never had a mind of its own or anything. But like you're saying, Larry, it's I'm trying to see where somebody said Clark finding the green crystal in the barn. Yeah, it's sort of like that in as much as the green crystal seemed to have something of a mind of its own. Yeah, Stargirl could fly. But in the comics, but she also spent a lot of time working on it. It was not something that just happened. I'll talk about her comics background after the show is over because I didn't get a chance to at the beginning. Anyway, she can fly in the comics, but again, it's something she worked up to. Otherwise, the way that thing is moving along in the sky, you're gonna drop it. You're gonna let go, and you're gonna fall out of the sky, and you're gonna die. Oh, she's putting a... Wow, this is going to escalate quickly from being... Oh, okay, she's...
Hey, somebody's messing with your car.
Yeah, that's escalating quickly. Went from being a-holes to the staff. Why does the staff need a human if it can do all this stuff? Yeah, okay. I assume that's going to be her big, oh my God, I can't believe the power I have. It comes with it, comes great responsibility.
Oh, my daddy's gonna kill me.
And there's something that's just a minor thing, but and it doesn't have to do with Nebraska particularly. When you have a car explode, the first thing that's going to happen is there'll be a quick double take from anybody who's bordering this car, probably for 3 cars around, and they're all going to pile out and run the hell away from the explosion. But they showed people just sitting there in their cars, you know, real close and not like running for the hills. The other thing you run into here, and this is why the Justice Society and Justice League were so good in the comics. Stargirl was a member of the Justice Society in the comics, probably still is. And the thing is, there's very little crime in a town as small as Blue Valley. I lived in a town of 1,000, Redfield, Iowa, for a number of years, and I don't recall. I must have been there for a good 8 or 9 years, maybe even 10, and I don't recall the county sheriff that served us, because it was only a town of 1,000. I don't recall that they were ever called for anything. There's not much crime. There's not much crime fighting to be had in a town the size of Blue Valley. What town was JSA based in? And the JSA was based in the comics in New York City, and still is as far as they know. If you look up Justice Society, they had, and I think still have since for the longest time, since the Golden Age, they have had a brownstone in New York. They also have a lot of underground stuff going on in there, if you look at some of the late Silver Age stuff that they've got. But it was a brownstone building in New York City. And that's kind of why I think this character may need the JSA. You know, you're not going to fight crime in Blue Valley. There's just no crime to fight. Wow, this is the 40-minute. I got to tell you, I'm enjoying myself so far. That's kind of amazing. I haven't seen any obvious SJW crap. I want to do one thing. I'm going to look at something for the benefit of Larry? Yeah, Larry asking about the JSA book. What set am I going for? The Pirate Bay. Is Org up today? I think we may have gone back. Yes, we have.
What are you doing? Me? Yes. Nothing. I didn't do anything. Oh, but you. You don't get to ask the questions, Pat. If that's even your real name.
It's Patrick.
You mean Stripesy.
All right, give me that. That's incredibly dangerous.
I know. It blew up a car.
Blew up a car.
I did it. It did. I was only going to let the air out of their tires.
Hey, look. Are you okay? And was anyone hurt?
What is the deal with the staff anyway? I don't get it.
Has little resale value, though.
Larry looks like another teen high school soap. Maybe, yeah, maybe it is.
It's called the Cosmic Staff. Okay? It's extremely temperamental.
Cosmic Staff, okay. This was not, it was not like alive in the comics ever.
And it should be back in its crate where it belongs, not vandalizing automobiles and endangering people's lives. Staff's not supposed to work for anyone except Starman.
Starman?
The Justice Society of America is before your time.
I know who they are. A bunch of superheroes from the old days. They quit when I was a kid.
Well, they didn't exactly quit. Starman and the JSA died saving the world 10 years ago. It's Christmas Eve.
10 years ago on Christmas Eve?
What?
Does my mom know any of this?
No, I didn't tell her. And it isn't right not to be honest, but people have died because they got too close to the JSA. You know the truth and you're at risk even now.
Right.
Look, I don't mean to get upset. It's just the staff was missing and I was concerned. Are you all right? Court?
Why would the staff work for me if it only worked for Starman?
I don't know.
There must be a reason. What if Starman was my father?
If what?
Starman died the exact night my father vanished.
Okay, that'd be the coincidence to end all coincidences. If Starman was your father, it's beyond the realm of possibilities.
Pat? Destiny. I mean, maybe the stars aligned. Stars. Starman.
Cool. Awesome, Larry.
It would make so much sense. My father never showed up that night.
I think we're going to find out later on down the line that this is a misassumption on her part.
Sit down. Okay, come here.
Or he knows and he's going to tell her. It's a misassumption on her part.
What was your father's name?
Sam Curtis.
Oh, isn't that cute? They've got her in blue jeans, a blue sweater, and a white shirt that shows underneath it. It is, when you see her, exactly like the Starman, costume.
The staff works for you for some reason. I don't know why. But that's not it.
I've got to ask my mom.
Oh, boy.
Mom!
You owe Pat an apology, young lady.
No, I don't, because maybe Pat's not who you think he is.
Courtney, enough.
Was my dad a superhero?
I'm not joking around here.
I'm not joking either.
You want to know the truth about your father? Your dad, a superhero, he only came to see you once a year until you were 5, and then he just abandoned us, Courtney.
Mom,
There's only been one.
Say, Larry, the Justice Society started in All-Star Comics and ran there for almost 2 decades.
You know, if your dad was as great as you think he is, he would be here right now instead of Pat. But he's not.
Okay, if he was a superhero, there's some good chance that he'd get killed.
Nothing.
Okay. Good night, Courtney.
Good night, John Boy.
Tell me again.
And it says my video is not streaming smoothly.
Travis and Brian and I were at the drive-in, and we were minding our own business. That part about the staff, Junior.
Oh, they've got a supervillain in
Yeah,
town.
this glowing thing. Shot. I don't know, but fire or lasers or something. I know I should have asked to take the car, Dad. What did they look like? Who were they? It's too hard to see.
I think that's Brainwave.
Go to your room.
Yeah, I think we saw him at the beginning. I didn't catch his face closely, but I think that's Brainwave. Otherwise, why would you have him in the beginning? Why would you even set that up? Looking for something. There we are. Let me know if you're getting buffering. My thing here is telling me it's not receiving enough video at YouTube side. Lou Ferrigno Jr. is in it. Oh, yeah. There we go. Excellent connection now. I didn't catch. Is that Brainwave? Because I didn't catch if it was Brainwave or not. I would think it was. Brainwave had always had a certain look to him with the glasses. Actually, in reality, in the comics, because everything tends to be overblown to a little bit, Brainwave had a big head because he was a really smart dude who could do things, telekinetically and so forth. So he had a big head. But he did have these glasses. He was always bald, had this certain look to him. I think they've got that with this guy. As much as you can get with a human being when you're not making a giant Talosian head, which is what he kind of looked like. No, so far, I'm happy with what I'm seeing. There is certainly the danger, Larry, that they could turn this into a teen high school soap opera. I think there's danger you could do that. Don't think it would be hard to do. And the way these CW shows go, the way these CW shows go, they always get into some level of angsty romance stuff. So maybe they'll do that with this, for her, in terms of friends she has and boyfriend and stuff like that. One of the more interesting things about Stargirl in the comics, Captain Marvel, the guy that says Shazam, not Shazam, that's stupid. You don't run around as a, superhero whose name you can't speak for fear of transforming back into your other identity. But Captain Marvel, and this was fairly recent, after the 2000 mark. I don't remember exactly when it came out. It's a good storyline, though. Captain Marvel, because his alter ego at that time was a 16-year-old boy, Captain Marvel had a thing with Stargirl because she's young, he's young in his alter ego. She knew he was young in his alter ego, but it gets weird when he starts showing up. Like there was one, they had a dinner or something where the entire JSA was showing up. Well, he showed up not in his costume, but in a suit. And he's, that guy's like almost 30 or something like that. Captain Marvel is like 30. And he's escorting in Courtney Whitmore, half her age. And Hawkman and some of the other JSA members said, hey, because they didn't know he's actually 16 years old in real life. So they started getting on his case about it. So it was unfortunately cut off a little soon, but it was an interesting storyline because it was like, how do you have a relationship? Because they were trying to have a relationship when you're teenagers and you're superheroes, but one of you, half the time at least, appears much older than the other one, So, but Justice Society, actually, now that I've got those two links out there to you, Larry, I might pull some of those. I do have some of them. I don't have all of them. It looks like there's at least one seed on everything that makes sense. All-Star, this is a good one. All-Star Comics number 1 through 74 from 1940 to 1978. That's the entire run of All-Star Comics, taking out the time in the 50s when All-Star Comics changed to All-Western Comics. So there's a period in the 50s where that happened, but anything that's got All-Star Comics on it, that is original Justice Society. You can see that all the way to where Star Spangled Kid, later Starman. became a member of the JSA. The first issue that they started doing when they started it back up after having been out of publication for a couple of years, the first thing that they did was make Starboy or Star Spangled Kid part of the JSA. He hadn't been in the Golden Age. That's one thing he's doing different in here. Do I have actual issues of JSA in real paper, mostly All-Star Comics? But yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's just that it's generally easier for me to get a hold of something that's electronic, the way that I've got it all laid out in my hard drive and stuff. So
Because of all the stripes.
Yeah, I got that.
let me reload this.
Something really should...
What's wrong with it?
Well, for starters, I highly doubt it intimidated the bad guys. I mean, look out. Here comes Stripesy.
Well, see, Stripesy made more sense when Sylvester went by the Star Spangled Kid.
Okay, Star Spangled Kid, cool.
Yeah, you see, Sylvester was 15 when we met. I was 20. I was his family's driver and their mechanic.
This is all Golden Age. It's
Well,
exactly the
Stop
same.
some criminals that were threatening his parents. And I helped him. Anyways, later he got the staff and he became Starman and he joined the JSA and he brought me along.
Okay. What were you, like, the Star Spangled Kid's assistant?
I was Starman's sidekick. I looked after his car, I kept his suit clean.
Sounds like an assistant to me.
Being a sidekick was an honor. They made me a really important part of the JSA.
Oh, why aren't you in the picture then?
Because I took it.
Look, I don't like that you've kept this from my mom.
I really like this show so far.
But you make her happy. Happier than I've ever seen her, and I don't want to take that away. I can't.
I am seeing something here
Keep your secret.
in Breck Bassinger or Basinger.
Stay out of your way. I mean,
She's got the same kind of style of acting
right?
that you see a lot with younger female actors.
Keeping your mother and you
I noticed it with that one character on Picard before I stopped watching that trash.
Okay.
okay.
But it's,
So do we have a deal?
I don't get it. I've seen it a million times. It's not that it isn't completely genuine.
Call me
It's
Stripes.
just that I've seen it so much. I'm like, why don't you guys stop that? Yeah, Stripesy's stepdad. And that is, again, what happened in the comics.
Good talk.
And there's going to be something else here that happens later on that I'm not going to spoil now. I'm not sure if it'll happen in this episode. But also happened in the comics. But what he just described, that is Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy, except that they didn't get into the JSA at that time. They were published by two different wings of the same holding company, and so you didn't get that crossover the way that you did some of their other heroes.
What are you doing? Courtney? Are you okay? Stay. What's going on? I couldn't sleep. Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you.
Oh, honey. I'm sorry about what I said. I know, it's been really hard on you.
No, Mom, I'm sorry. I haven't given Pat a real chance, but I'm gonna try. Really, really try. New start.
You have no idea how much that means to me.
For sure. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, I don't mind this show. I kind of like this show so far. Wait and see if they turn it SJWE, but they hooked me right on by being nice to Nebraska.
What is it? Hey, it's cold out.
Yeah, see, this is the part that it's the problem anytime you have action scenes, and this is one of them, where she just grabs onto this staff with one hand, it yanks her completely out the, how? Unless the staff is manipulating gravity around her. But ordinarily when that happens, if something jumps out of my hand at that, like that, it's just going to fly out and I'm going to lose it. That's part that bothers me here. Staff being like a pet, Larry says. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of is.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's practice.
Wow, they're going to practice. Just exactly what Batwoman never did. And again, a costume on her. Blue hoodie, jeans, white shirt. Shows up exactly like the Starman costume did. Starshine's player, it must not be like holding a hang glider, more like a GL ring. Yeah, in this incarnation, I would have to assume... Okay. Again, I would have to assume that the thing is manipulating gravity in her immediate area. Or manipulating inertia. Okay, I do have to tell him one thing. So wait, where are we heading here? Yeah, So wait, where was she heading? Because on the horizon was a decently large city. It didn't have the tall buildings that Omaha did, but it looked kind of like Lincoln. They're going to come to Lincoln? They keep doing this. I may generally like this show. If they keep doing it. I am a little wary of what's going on with the cosmic staff, but I'm generally happy. As I say, these guys pretty much took me right off the bat when they didn't screw us into the ground like a drill bit and treat us as some kind of stereotype. So thank you, guys at WB, for going the hard route and trying to be realistic as opposed to the easy route, with all of us sitting with a piece of grass hanging out of our mouth in the middle of a field. So, but one thing about it, if you're in a town this size-ish, or the size of, I don't know, say the place in Iowa, the town in Iowa where I lived, even a town of 1,000, which has a downtown area that's even smaller than this one. But in that town of 1,000, if you started flying around on a cosmic staff, you're gonna get seen. It's not like everything just dries completely up. You get places that are closed down. The place that I lived used to have, it was a town of just over 1,000, had 2 bars. The good bar that had, it was basically kind of like a British pub. You could get stuff to eat there. And then half a block down on the same side of the street, the bad bar. And that was the one that had cheap drinks and probably cheap women if you looked very hard. And that's, that's right off of Main Street. It would be like, I don't know. Here's one, the good bar, and there's the bad one. It's that far, it's just that close. So there'd be people, in those bars, some of those businesses, people who are walking on the street, which happens. All right, let's go back to Courtney. There were a lot of lights on the horizon in the background. That does not happen in a small town. Sometimes you can't even see the lights from a distance. That looked a lot more like the lights of Lincoln, where I live. Yeah, that was Brainwave. You can blow up cars. I don't think you need the help so much. Yeah, Larry says, it's a trap! Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be Brainwave. You know, well, maybe lately. It's another thing I have a little bit of a problem with. The hot blonde chick not being beset upon by male attention. Professor X or Dr. Jean Grey. Yeah, Brainwave was kind of how he sounds. He could do telekinetics and stuff like that. Yeah, blowing up a tire place, not a good idea. It's going to be toxic smoke for miles, and it's hard to get turned off. Those things can run for days. Tire fire, rather. Ah, here we go. This is more modern age, but...
I told you not to touch the staff. Next Tuesday,
I'm Stargirl.
Stargirl is the new CW series. Come on, you hunk of junk. Critics are calling a genuine delight.
Is this kid even safe?
Stargirl is pure, contagious joy.
Stargirl is pure, contagious joy.
Series next Tuesday at 8/7 Central.
A new generation of justice. Or stream free on the CW app.
Next.
Okay. I think we're...
I used to think fighting's what we do.
Yeah.
Now I worry that fighting's what we are.
Well, I've seen the trailer, so we'll let it go at that. Okay. All right. I have to tell you, so far, I'm liking this show. I'm liking this show a fair amount. That said, my expectations are always somewhere next to dinosaur bones. So, and particularly considering how these people generally get all SJW about everything, there's a lot of opportunity for them to go nuts here. And I hope they don't. CW, if you're watching, you have managed to do a good superhero show. If you keep doing this, I will be one of those guys happy to say, yes, your superhero operates in my state. Keep doing the good stuff. Don't be terrible. Okay, let me talk to you a little bit about Stargirl and how in the comics it seems like they're being very faithful to the source material. So, as I mentioned towards the end, we had the Star-Spangled Kid. He was later Starman, and, well, he was first Skyman. See, there was already a Golden Age Starman that was absolutely nothing like a Star-Spangled Kid and later becoming Starman. The Golden Age Starman was a guy with a big red costume. One of those things you see sometimes with real old Golden Age superheroes where it comes down over his head but doesn't cover his face. It's just like this big kind of hood, skin-tight hood. And then he had a fin on the top of his head. It was, kind of a half-circle fin. If you look up Starman Golden Age, you can see it. It's kind of interesting. He had a red suit and a green cape, he always gets made fun of today for that. But there was already a Starman in the Golden Age. What happened was you had over in other comics owned by a different title name. So the Justice Society of America was made up of superheroes that appeared in All American Comics and a few others, Sensation Comics, Action Comics, Detective Comics, Superman, Batman, all of those were owned by the same entity. And so they could have crossovers. And that's why you got the Justice Society, which is the very first super team in the world. Yes, Starseeds player, a fin, an actual fin. Think of like a shark's fin. I mean, smaller. It's only about, I'd say about this high compared to your head. But yes, imagine a shark's fin on their head. In his case, the shark's fin angled up from the front and then turned off into a 90-degree angle in the front. So if you spun around a shark's fin and put it on his head, yeah, the original Starman had that. I should have had some pictures. I can't really get them up here very easily. But just look up, Google Golden Age Starman, and you'll see it. So where Star-Spangled Kid and Stripes were operating, was, it's hard to describe because all of these things ultimately would feed in and become DC Comics, but sometimes at this period of time in the Golden Age, there were titles that were technically owned by someone else, so you didn't get the crossover, but it ultimately they all kind of came together to form this. So, Star-Spangled Kid and Stripesy were part of another team that started out after the Justice Society called the Seven Soldiers of Victory. And they were kind of an interesting super team. They also operated in the 1940s. But by the 1970s, because they had established Earth 2, in the comics there was always Earth 1 in the Silver Age, and that's where all of our main characters were. But there was also Earth 2, and that was where all the characters from the Golden Age operated. So you had these two Earths, Earth 1, which was the Silver Age, Earth 2, which is the Golden Age, and so they would cross over annually, starting in, I don't know, sometime in the 1960s, early 70s. They started crossing over annually. They would have a crossover between universes. This is where the CW gets all those ideas about crossovers, because they were doing it with Justice League and Justice Society very early on. And you did so forever. So much so, it was an annual event at Christmas. And it was so much so that they did it so much that it got boring. You know, you have all these superheroes from different universes interacting, and yet after the years that got boring. So they started bringing in other super teams that they owned, and one of those was the Seven Soldiers of Victory. So you had a crossover between the Justice League, the Justice Society, and the Seven Soldiers of Victory. The Seven Soldiers of Victory were trapped. They got thrown back in time, all of them, to different places in time. The Justice League and the Justice Society got together to go and get them out of time and bring them forward in time. And these were Earth 2 characters, so they belonged over in the same universe as the Justice Society. So they brought all those guys back, but it wasn't the 1940s when they left, that was basically when the comics stopped producing, late 40s in that case. But it wasn't in the 40s when they left, it was the 70s when they came back. So you had some pathos going on between those various characters, and Star-Spangled Kid was one of them. Star-Spangled Kid got picked up in earnest by DC in All-Star Comics. All-Star Comics, as I mentioned earlier before, had been running in continuous publication from 1941, the month before Pearl Harbor, all the way through the 1950s, and they held on for a long period of time. But the 1950s, the bottom just totally dropped out for comic books, and All-Star was one of the victims of that. But they came back in the year, I want to say it's 1974, but I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on it. But the All-Star Comics came back with the Justice Society, and as I've often said, one of the reasons that I like Earth 1 and Earth 2 the way that they were done in the Silver Age is that the people in the Justice Society Earth, on Earth 2, they were allowed to age. You know, Superman got older. Batman got older. All of these characters that we knew, that they knew in the Golden Age, all got older. You know, when they get to the 1970s, well, you know, after they came back, their ages kind of got stuck in middle age. 1970s made perfect sense. I mean, you know, you're only, 30 years away from World War II. These characters like 20 in World War II, so they'd be 40s and 50s now, you know, in the 70s. So the characters got older, which is one of the things I really like about it. But when they brought Star-Spangled Kid back from the past, when they brought him back to the future, something happened off-page. We were never told exactly what. We never saw it. But Starman, the Golden Age Starman, the one with the red outfit, green cape, and a fin on his head, had some kind of deal where he was injured and he was recovering, which he did then for freaking years. And he while he was recovering, he gave Star-Spangled Kid his cosmic rod. After he was finished recovering, he ultimately gave Star-Spangled Kid another rod. No, it was a belt. That's right, it was a belt, a cosmic belt that he wore. So he never really had the cosmic rod except as a loan, and the cosmic rod was ultimately a forerunner to the cosmic staff. The rod was only about this big. You could hold it in your hand. But Star Spangled Kid never really was Starman. He eventually went out and became head of another superhero group that was out on the West Coast. This would have been circa 1983 or so. But he went out to the West Coast and became the head of a super team called Infinity Inc. And Infinity Inc. was made up mostly of offspring of the original Justice Society characters. So he went out there. And I don't remember, I think he must have had the cosmic belt. But he couldn't be Starman, that was already taken. Star Spangled Kid seemed a little silly for him because he was now like 20. So instead, he became Skyman. And the costume that you see on him in this show is almost exactly like the costume that he wore as Skyman. When he was in the Golden Age, all he did was wear basically a bodysuit that was blue and covered in stars, and then trunks, and I don't remember the color. But he didn't have a cape or anything. He was just this guy he was a good fighter back then. In the Golden Age, Stripesy was his partner. Not the brainiest dude in the world, but brave, knew some hand-to-hand fighting, knew how to do things like that car that you saw at the beginning. I don't remember what the name of it was now, but they actually called it something. The Star Rocket Racer. That's what that car was in the comics. But he was doing stuff like that. When he talks about keeping the car up, he's talking about all the maintenance necessary for a flying car. So he did have one. Stripesy was his partner. Stripesy, God, he was... don't remember exactly, but he had red and white stripes across his chest. Not many people can pull that look off. Anyhow, so they brought these guys back to the present. He then joined Star Spangled Kid, then joined the Justice Society, had the rod for a while, became Skyman with the belt. Skyman was then killed, and the belt went back to Starman, the Golden Age Starman. However, due to one thing or another, it gets all very complex. If you want to read it, go read the Starman comic book from, I don't know, sometime in the 2010s. Really good book. But it goes into what happens to me, and like I say, the Earth 2 characters aged. Even after they put the Earths together in Crisis on Infinite Earths, you still had the Justice Society with some older members, one of whom was Starman. He doesn't, guy was big and buff, when he was young, and now he's in his 80s and he looks it, Ultimately, the cosmic rod went to his younger son. And his younger son was a very, very different kind of Starman for the longest time. Kind of if you got an emo guy or goth kid as Starman. But he eventually had a baby. Decided he wanted to retire as a superhero, and by then he had already met Courtney Whitmore. I don't know what the circumstances surrounding that were, but here she is. She is Stargirl already, but he gives her both the cosmic rod and the big cosmic staff, and so that's how Courtney got to be Stargirl in the comic books. As I mentioned, they have a relationship with her and Captain Marvel, the guy who says Shazam, or did, that was really rather cool because they were both 16 years old in their secret identities. So they started having a relationship, but then the older Justice Society members would pull Cap aside and say, hey, you're like twice her age. What the hell are you doing? Because they didn't know about Billy, so... don't imagine we'll get to see any of that. I can't imagine that they're about to touch what they now call Shazam because they had a decent movie with that one, so they'll probably do some more. Anyway, that's the general history of Starman and Stargirl in the comics. It gets rather complex because you're dealing with since 1941. Worth of semi-continuity, but a hell of a lot of comics. And it's really interesting, that first one, All-Star Comics number 2, was the first time that we saw the Justice Society. It was not what you think. It wasn't all these heroes getting together to fight something big. All that happened was they met together and then told a story about each of their, an encounter or something, fighting a bad guy that they'd had recently. But it's interesting, in as much as it was, I don't remember when, but All-Star number 2 was just barely before Pearl Harbor. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be because I'm not remembering for sure, but I believe that Wonder Woman made her first appearance in All-Star Comics just prior to Pearl Harbor. And then Wonder Woman became just an outright patriotic character who actually basically fought in the army, So, excuse me. Anyway, it gets all complex. If you have the opportunity to read some of those Golden Age comics, either on paper or electronically, think about All-Star Comics 001 through 74, which is 1940 to 1978. And probably that omnibus that Larry was mentioning also would have that in it. But, don't go looking for really deep stories, when you're going back that far to 1941. These were still, comic books were made for 12-year-old boys. Nothing is too complex. Nothing is, too frightening or gory or anything like that. But they are good stories in general, and you'll get to see, when they got into the 70s and stuff, then they started making the characters with more depth and things, but they also did the same thing with their bad guys. There's 2 or 3 bad guys that stayed with the Justice Society forever. Brainwave was one of them. The Injustice Society, the Injustice Society or Injustice Gang, I've forgotten which. That's what we saw him fighting at the beginning. Interesting thing about the Wizard on Earth 2 was he was responsible for getting Superman out of the way for at least a year on Earth 2. In the 1950s, he made Superman disappear, but that didn't make Clark Kent disappear. So for the next year, Clark doesn't know that he's Superman. He just made the Superman identity kind of go away. So Clark for the next year starts getting more, his personality starts becoming more like Superman's. He leads a raid on some bad guys with cops, and there's pictures in the paper of him punching out a guy. So his whole personality started to bubble to the top, and he kept, he has conversations with those guys. They got to find Superman. What the hell happened to Superman? And then he marries Lois. Clark marries Lois. Bet you didn't know that. In Action Comics, I'm not sure which one, but from the late Silver Age, in the 1950s, it was established that Clark married Lois on Earth 2. So, a lot of cool stuff about Earth 2. Like Earth 2 very much. Earth 2 is also where we get Power Girl and the Huntress originally. The Huntress has become something completely different. But on Earth 2, when he retired, Batman, Bruce Wayne, when he retired, from wearing a costume all the time, he became police chief of Gotham City, or commissioner. He replaced Jim Gordon as commissioner of Gotham City PD. And his daughter, he also married Selina Kyle, the Catwoman on Earth 2, and they had a daughter, Helena Wayne, and she became the Huntress. Not as dark by any means as they show her today, but the Huntress, if you ever hear her talked about, she originated as the daughter on Earth 2 of the Earth 2 Batman and Catwoman. So you see those characters from there. You see a lot of them from World War II. Now in 1985, there was a Crisis on Infinite Earths. All of DC's universes got shoved together into one, and so all of this continuity becomes a little gray. You have to say to yourselves, okay, Superman in the New World, new universe, did not appear until, he was about 29 years old. So he couldn't have been back in the Golden Age. You can look at some of those, and the explanation always was, well, some of those things happened. Maybe some of those happened, the ones that had Superman in them, which wasn't that many. When they had Superman, maybe there was somebody else there instead of Superman, or maybe they just didn't need him to win. So, there's sometimes where you have to look and go, that can't possibly be part of continuity. But then there's supervillains that originated with the JSA that have gone up against everybody in the universe at various times. And then there's, the same supervillains oftentimes stayed with the JSA. The Wizard and the Injustice Society is one. What's another one? Brainwave is another one. Brainwave was the supervillain who was behind everything. If you go back to All-Star Comics in the 1970s when they started it up again, Brainwave was the first villain that they had. Per Degaton is another one. Kind of weird name, but he was a supervillain that was almost an arch-villain for the JSA and is still around, I think. There was, who else was some of their bad guys? Oh, the Ultra Humanite. The Ultra Humanite was very interesting, something that actually happened in the Silver Golden Age. And you go, okay, we would handle that very differently today. The Ultra Humanite was originally a very, very smart guy. And he put his brain in around World War II. He had something going on with his body. He got this very attractive woman and put his body into her brain into her body. Yeah, and they didn't make any big. It was nothing back in the Golden Age. Just didn't think twice about it. This is stuff for 12-year-olds. But you look at it back now and you go, really? He went from being male to female, really? And then later on, I think also in the late Golden Age, maybe early Silver, he put his brain into a gorilla. So Ultra Humanite, anytime you see him now, is portrayed as a gorilla with a big freaking head. But that's the Ultra Humanite. Started out as a guy in the 1940s, switched to a woman in the 1940s, and then put his brain into a gorilla. That may have been in the Silver Age. A couple of the editors for DC, one of the ways that they would come up with comics to do at DC in the early Silver Age was they would say, okay, I want all our artists to go out and do a cover. Don't care what it is. No story attached to this. Just do us a cover. So they bring a cover for some book. And then they would decide what story and what book. They'd say, I like the look of that cover. Hand it off to a writer and let them have a story around it. That's how we get villains like Sinestro for Green Lantern. There's a name. If you're working as a Green Lantern, you got a guy named Sinestro. Yeah, okay. Nothing sinister about that. But Sinestro was the result of one of those comic covers. If you look at his costume, it's really weird. If you a comic book costume, he looks like a court jester almost. It's just strange. But he got. What am I? Oh, he's. What am I blanking? Anyway, there are some others there that were recurring bad guys and are still recurring bad guys today. One of the big bad guys against them was Solomon Grundy. Although he was not originally a Justice Society bad guy, he came and went several times, both in the Golden Age and the Modern Era. So you can hear me talking about Justice Society a lot. I have a lot of very special place in my heart for Justice Society. I think the JSA is great. I have a video, if you looked. I'll see if I can maybe find a link for it. But I've got a video out there where I essentially pitched to DC how they can fix everything and stop having to reboot every 5 minutes and make good movies. So I outline and into plan for the entire DC universe. And it involves starting the Justice League in the 1940s. It's all one universe, but we'll start the Justice League in the 1940s, and it just continues uninterrupted all the way up to the 31st century. That was my pitch. But they'll never do it because they're stupid. So anyway, that's how kind of these heroes got from the comic book, and they're doing so far a good job of maintaining, being true to the source material. They are not making my part of the country, specifically the state that I live in, look bad. In fact, they're making it look good, at least from this. It is dispelling this notion that just because somebody may live in a town like this means that they're radically different from somebody, and what they do and what they wear and how they talk and how they think is radically different than somebody living in a city, because it's not. It's basically the same. I know, because I lived in towns this size, and I lived in Chicagoland for 10 years. So, I am so far liking this show. See what it's like next week. I mean, you can feel good about this stuff, and 3 episodes in, they can surprise you. That's what Picard did for me. I liked Picard at the beginning, and by episode 5, I was done with Picard and Star Trek forever. So, Larry says Julius Schwartz and used Justice League because he was a baseball fan. I don't know why they put League in there, other than it sounds a little more active than Justice Society. A society sounds like some place where you're getting together and having drinks, which is what they did in the first issue, really. They just got together for drinks and talked about things they did. They didn't start as a team until the next one. So I think they just I think Julius Schwartz looked at it and said, yeah, we want to restart Justice Society, but geez, that name's kind of silly. What sounds bigger and more epic? League. And I think that's why they used League. I don't know if he was motivated at all by being a baseball fan. I don't know what the motive. I don't know how they came up with the name. Just that I think I can understand the artistic reason. A league sounds like something that's got force behind it. A society sounds like people getting together in a club and having drinks, or not meaning at all. I'm a member of a computing society that never meets. Advanced Computing Machinery, ACM, I think it is. But I've been a member of that since forever, and we never meet. Starseeds player, new Pike show is sounding very interesting and not nihilistic. Let me see if I've got the card up here. I may not. Here's the thing, right? With the Strange New World series. Fool me once, as Scotty said in the original series. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, I've been fooled since 2009. Admittedly, if you put this Kurt's Trek crap up against the Abrams stuff comes out a little ahead, because at least I can let my children watch it. The Abrams crap, the Alex Kurtzman crap has been crap, and he's been making the movies crap. I have no faith whatsoever that he will make a good Star Trek series. Not ever. I think what happened with this, I mentioned it the other night, I think what happened with this was pretty simple. Pike Show has the same people as STD and STB, beware. Exactly. I think what happened is this. I don't think that either Discovery or Picard are pulling in the numbers they want. I think that what happened was they got to Discovery, and that wasn't pulling in the numbers they wanted. So they said, "Oh God, what about this property is more? I know, the Borg. Borg. Oh yeah, they're really popular with Star Trek. Who else? What else can we use? Oh, I know. Who's around that we could still get? I know. Let's get Riker. Oh God, no, he's fat and he's directing now. Who else can we get? Geordi. Well, he's off doing this thing with. He's never that big a draw. Let's see. Dr. Crusher. No, not Dr. Crusher. Deanna. No, not Deanna. Picard. And then they went to, and this almost bears out reality. Then they went to. They went over to Britain, and they talked to Sir Patrick. And Sir Patrick said, no, I've done Star Trek. I'm done with that. So they went back to him, and they said, Sir Patrick, what can we do to get you on? You tell us what you want to happen in this series, and then we'll do it. And that's what they did. And that's why Picard turns out to be nihilistic and ick. In part because the people running the show don't know what the hell they're doing, and in part because Sir Patrick insisted on this shit. Sorry. This Dren. Sir Patrick insisted on it because he I don't think, in interviews I've seen with him on this, It's just my impression. I don't think he ever liked playing Picard. I think he thought that the scripts were banal and stupid. And so what we've got here is him doing, okay, this is real acting. I can do real acting as Picard now. I don't just have to, and he did a lot, particularly in the first and second seasons. I don't just have to take clunky, crappy dialogue and somehow make it work, which is what makes him a great actor. I can do any damn thing I want. I can do real acting. So that's why we got some of the blood and guts and gore and veins in your teeth and eating dead, burnt bodies, because Patrick Stewart wanted to kill. He wanted to kill. And that's why we got the crap we did. So you have one show that wasn't doing that well, Discovery, ran over to try to get something that'll do that well, and it didn't. I don't think it did well at all, because I think if either of these shows were doing well, they would scream about it at the top of their lungs. CBS would be like, look, advertising money. We are actually a big freaking problem. We're going to give Netflix a run for their money. Advertising, man. We're getting huge audiences. No, they don't share that information at all. I think those two shows are actually bombing, and they're keeping them propped up because they bet the farm on the Star Trek property for CBS All Access. If the Star Trek property fails, so goes CBS All Access. They have no other property on that channel that would make anyone want to sign up for it. Why? You can get a better selection of stuff on Netflix or Hulu, for Christ's sake. There's nothing on CBS All Access that you care about except Star Trek. And I think those two shows are dying, and they dare not say anything about it, and they can just throw all the cash they can at it at any given time to try to keep it propped up. So then they said, all of these fans are going, this stuff sucks. This is suckage. It's nihilistic. It's awful. You want something good. I talked about it. I've talked about it in my video, why Star Trek is no longer Star Trek, link in my description box. But there's a great Red Letter Media just had a full treatment from Mr. Plinkett for Star Trek Picard. Go watch that. Go watch it on YouTube. As always, Mr. Plinkett puts a fine-tooth period on everything I've ever said about this show. I love Mr. Plinkett. If it weren't for Mr. Plinkett, I probably wouldn't be sitting in front of you right now. Going back to my viewers here. Starseeds Player, he has actually said when he took the part, he thought the show would be canceled after season 1, so it was a paycheck and a resume builder. Yeah. Well, paycheck mostly, resume being done. Larry says Starseeds Player meant TNG. Yeah. Starseeds Player, TNG, for him was one season a resume builder. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah. Plinkett to Picard review. Yes, there is. Go watch it. Maybe I could try to get it in the description, but after I'm done. But just go watch the thing. Go watch it. Let me see if I can even find it. It's a real easy search on YouTube. It's God, I'm so glad I have better equipment. There we go. I just typed Plinkett in the search field, and it came up with Plinkett Picard. All right. I'm going to be a hoopy frood. That is the Plinkett Picard review. Full treatment, hour and a half. Plinkett going through everything that's good and bad in detail. I am the only person who comes to any level of that kind of depth. It is in my reviews. It is because of Red Letter Media that I said, I have the ability to do this kind of depth, so that's what I usually do with my reviews. But anyhow, so that's, I just don't, with Strange New Worlds, same people running the crap they've got now. And I think, again, what I think happened is these two shows are dying, and just dying in the ratings, or not ratings, or whatever the viewership is. And so all this time, fans have been saying, that sucks. We'd like to see exploring Strange New Worlds. We'd like to see something more episodic rather than a 10-part serial that, we have to watch all the way through. We want something different. And so they said, oh, okay, the fans all say this suck. Okay, the fans all say this is suckage. They really liked a Pike. Okay, all right. Anson Mount, hated working for this frickin' show. There was every indication that he got into some kind of fisticuffs with a director. That's how bad it got on the set for him. And so they said, okay, well, we can get him back enough money, and saying we're never going to do whatever it is that caused you to, pick a fight, or director pick a fight with you. We'll never do that. It'll be much better. Here's a giant paycheck. And so they said to themselves, okay, all right, okay, the fans are going to like this. They're going to like Pike. Okay, we'll tell the fans that we've heard them, which they did in an incredibly cringy video that's going around. But, he's okay, well, let's, where was I now? Oh, okay, so they said, okay, they're going to like Pike. Okay, got it. He was the popular thing. Okay, that'll make these people do it. And they also bitch about nihilism. We don't really understand what that is, because we live in and work in a place that you'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. So we can't see optimism anywhere in our own lives, so we don't know what it is. We never see it in our own lives. We live and work in a place where, a handshake means nothing, and rape and child molestation rule the day. That's normal for them. That's normal, everyday life. They are totally incapable of envisioning something that is not nihilistic, because all they ever live in is nihilism. So I have zero faith that they are going to do anything whatsoever that actually pulls this sucker out of nihilism. They are living and working in a place that you never see optimism. All you ever see is broken promises, people stabbing you in the back. And don't take my word for it. I never got that high into acting to where that I had this as a problem. But listen to anybody who talks about it. It is a wretched hive of scum and villainy. People stab you in the back when they need to for their own personal gain. They will sit and kiss your ass for their own personal gain, and then the next day stab you in the back. It's a terrible, horrible business and a terrible place to work. And so these people who are making Star Trek now, well, they can't think of of what an actual optimistic future would look like. They can't think in terms of optimism. It is impossible. I say to you guys, Kurtzman, if you want to, be something other than a complete hack fraud, leave Hollywood for a while. Come out to Lincoln, Nebraska, a city of over 300,000 people, and we have everything you want. But what matters here, we can still do business on a handshake. Rape is unusual. It's not something that happens all the time, so we consider it a real horror when it actually happens. It's not something you do to little boys just because, you happen to be a very powerful director. Chris Singer, Brent Singer, I'm looking at you. So I don't have any real, I have absolutely no confidence that they're going to make something, because they are coming from a mindset that you can't see the good in the world for all the horror that they live with every day. Hollywood, California. And I mentioned it. Jay and Silent Bob ripped me off. Kevin Smith, you notorious hack fraud. When I mentioned this in another video, I have for years been saying, Hollywood, California, you will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. And last year, that almost exact line was used by Kevin Smith in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. So he stole that from me. But out here, you don't rape little kids. People who are raped, generally women, we consider it a horror. We consider it something really horrible and unusual. You do still get murders and stuff like that. You still get gangs, you still get drugs, you still get crime and stuff. But it's all much, much smaller, much smaller scale. And while you do, occasionally, once in a while, get like a drive-by shooting. It's nothing like the time I spent in Chicago, where I was actually very damn close to a drive-by. I'm close enough that I heard a bullet ricochet near me. Never had that happen in Nebraska. Starseeds player saying, yeah, he said he hated it and would never do it again. Yeah, that's Sir Patrick on Picard in Star Trek. Yeah. They had to say to him, you tell us. We need you to save our asses, and then he didn't. And they said, okay, all right, they've all been saying they want Pike. Let's get Pike. But in terms of making a good show, I just don't see it. I hope I'm wrong. But I've pretty much sworn off Star Trek anyway. I mentioned it in 2 videos. It's been since 2005 since we had good Star Trek on TV. And it's been since 1996 that we had good Star Trek on the big screen. 1996 was when Star Trek First Contact was released. And that was a pretty good next-gen movie. The rest of the next-gen movies pretty much sucked. Watch the Plinkett reviews. He gets them all right in terms of what made them suck. Larry says, episodic may help. I don't know that they'll do it episodic. I'm not sure they know what that means. All they've seen is fans like me going, I would like something more episodic. I would like to not have to watch every single episode in order, whether they suck or not, to get the whole story. I don't know that they know how to do episodic. If they do, that will be better. It's just that it's hard for me to imagine them doing a story like, let me think. Hell, hard for me to imagine them doing a story like The Cage. Or hard for me, because that requires some brains, you know. Supposedly one of the reasons it was rejected by NBC was that it was too intellectual. You know, that's one of the things about Star Trek. It's an intellectual show. It really is. I don't know if episodic will help. If they can get it, you know, but you still have to write the characters. You still have to, you know, be able to live in a world. They live in a world that is essentially a utopia. You know, it was described by Beverly Crusher as a utopia. They live in what amounts to a utopia. You know, there is no crime. There is no hunger. There is no poverty. There is no drug usage. Nobody needs to on Earth because it is a post-scarcity society. But they don't write like that. You know, Roddenberry and, you know, people in that era wrote like that because they could understand what utopia looked like. They could say to themselves, what happens if we continue on this generally pretty good track we're on? What happens then way off in the future? It's optimistic. I don't see that Kurtzman or the people under him know what that means. They live in a world where it's terrible. So I don't know. You know, much as I mentioned this the other night, two nights ago, much as I have sworn off Star Trek because I think I've been burned since 2009. But I've pretty much sworn off Star Trek. I did not watch the latter half of Picard. I dropped off at episode 5. The deal with Icheb was enough. That was nihilistic and gory enough. That was it. I was like, done. So from now on, they're going to have to woo me back. That probably means with Strange New Worlds that I will watch at least 3 episodes. Might watch 4. If they're doing it right, I will fracking say so. If they're continuing to frack up, I will say, oh, okay, it's just more of the same, not worth my time. So I don't know. I just have no faith in it. You know, after 2 TV series and 3 seasons all put together so far, when it just sucked. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 3 times, and I'm a complete moron. So we'll see how it goes. Crossing my fingers, but it's like Star Wars, it's like DC Universe movies. My expectations are now lower than dinosaur bones. If you can come up with something that isn't horrible, I'm going to love it. Or you could be cool, do something like the first episode of Stargirl here, where I actually enjoyed myself. You know, I know all the back source material. You can tell from the way I talked about it, but I did enjoy myself. I like this show so far. So we will see. We will see how it goes. Did mention at the top here, of course, Ruby Rose. Amazingly, Ruby Rose has now quit Batwoman. Quit the show. Hollywood Reporter. I'll just mention it here as written in the Hollywood Reporter. And a major surprise: Ruby Rose has departed the lead role. See, I need a teleprompter. What I'm doing right now for teleprompting and reading stuff like this is far from optimal. I need a real teleprompter. All right, in a Starseas player, I'm going to definitely check out episode 1 of Stargirl On Demand. I thought that was a pretty good episode. And take it from somebody who lives in Nebraska. I am telling you, we have been the butt of jokes for my entire life. It started out with the Beverly Hillbillies and has never gotten better. It's gotten worse. So when I see a show that is being kind to me, you know, I've lived in towns like this. I've also lived in big cities. I lived in Chicago. This is the size of the town they're talking about, and they're not screwing us over. They're showing normal people. So thank you, CW, for no other reason. Thank you, Starseas Player. Got to go. Okay, appreciate it. Come back. I'll be doing this again next week, I think. So, but I'm about to wrap it up myself. So, CW has an app. Larry says on streaming devices. Yes, yeah, you can get. I can watch it without a problem because that's just how Spectrum works. It'll give you all the channels and watch the old episodes on demand. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. I'm going to come back and get it later tonight myself after I'm done. So, Hollywood Reporter says, in a major surprise, Ruby Rose had departed the lead role on the CW's Batwoman after a single season. Warner Brothers TV said the role will be recast. So I guess they're recasting Batwoman. We're just going to recast it. Same character. Going to pull the Darrens from Bewitched. The announcement today, 2 days after the show's season finale, leaves the series without a lead actress for the time being. A timeline for the new actress to take over the role has yet to be determined. Batwoman was renewed for a second season, along with 12 other scripted series on the CW, and was set to anchor the network's Sunday nights starting in early 2021. Both Rose and producers Warner Brothers TV and Berlanti Productions praised one another in statements announcing their departure. And their statements were very, very generic. The sort of thing that you always hear when they're never going to tell the real story until 25 years later. Let's see if we get past that. Like dozens of other series, Batwoman was forced to end its season early due to the coronavirus pandemic, and the drama finished 20 of a planned 23 episodes, with Sunday's installment serving as the season finale. Sources tell the Hollywood Reporter that episode was Ruby Rose's last with the show, but it is unclear if a transition to a new lead would have been set up in the 2 episodes that weren't completed. We will see how it goes. John Scabies, you got lucky. They won't shoot anymore until next year, Batwoman. Yeah. Although if they cast a different actress as Batwoman, I just can't tell. I've seen Ruby Rose do some better work than this. So I think maybe it's the character. Maybe it's the directors, the producers telling her what to do. But she's such a block of wood. And I've seen her do better work than that. She's just a giant block of wood. So, I mean, if they got a different actress who wasn't constrained, maybe that'd be better. Maybe somebody who wasn't 97 pounds and obviously the stuntman giving in to her every week. Stuntman's like professional wrestlers and just laying down for her. So... but yes, I did sort of get lucky. I'm not sure that I'll even pick it up again. I guess I will for a while just to see what it looks like with a different actress. But I'm going to be doing these ones for the next, what is it? I've forgotten, 13 weeks, I think, is how long I've currently got this show set up for. Cross my fingers if it stays the same. I maybe even want it to be picked up for another season. So Ruby Rose has left. We'll see what happens there. Always want to mention, it's not necessarily related to Stargirl, but it is sort of CW superhero related, so I'll mention it. Not only, of course, is Batwoman the modern day Plan 9 from outer space, the production is so utterly incompetent that not only did it send Ruby Rose into surgery to prevent being paralyzed, it actually caused production assistant Amanda Smith to become paralyzed. And I have discussed this in another video. Batwoman production assistant paralyzed fends to the rescue. Always a link in my superhero DC reviews. So I would just like to remind my viewers, please donate to the Amanda Smith Rehabilitation Fund, because as far as I know, no one responsible for crippling her is paying dime with one thin dime out of it. So do go to her GoFundMe at gofundme.com/F/Amanda-Smith-Rehabilitation-Fund. It's scrolling past in my lower third from time to time, and there is a link to it in my description box. So, as it has been requested by a viewer and a fellow Fandi master who is a big supporter of this show, I present to you cake. Because at Tales from SYL Ranch, we do what we must because we can. For the good of us all, for all of us except the ones who are dead. But there's no reason to cry over every mistake. You just keep on trying until you run out of cake. And the science gets done and you make a neat gun for the people who are still alive. And that is all that I have to say about that. I would love to keep the conversation going, so please leave your comments, questions, and nasty remarks, and I'll do my best to respond to you. And again, please donate to the Amanda Smith Rehabilitation Fund at gofundme.com/F/Amanda-Smith-Rehabilitation-Fund. And do come back next week at the same, this time, Star Channel, on the same Star Time for another episode of Tales from SYL Ranch, where everyone is entitled to my opinion. And I'm Bill Stone.
Ultimate power in this world has always been one simple thing: the control and manipulation of minds.